All right, let's go to the last subject matter in communications, the teen political forum. Joyce, are you here still? This issue has come up because there have been some complaints, and I wasn't at the last meeting, but I got complaints that it's getting out of hand as far as the questions, and it's getting out of hand as far as the behavior of some of the kids. And I think that we've got to talk about how we can have somebody in charge of the kids themselves, and it could be the principals, could be a teacher, who we coordinate with. So if maybe you could bring it up to date as to what's going on. The program is a great program. I think it helps kids, but I do believe there were some inappropriate questions. I do believe it was when I looked at it and I heard boos when one of our commissioners spoke. I think that says that we're losing control of the whole process, and I don't want to lose control of this teen political forum. So I'll turn it over to either Joyce or to Larry.
So there was a lot of things that went wrong with teen political forum this year, and Joyce and I have discussed some of those issues. I mean, one of them was the questions. I've never gone ahead and seen the questions ahead of time. This year, a kid felt uncomfortable about them and called me up, and I met with them late at night the night before, and we struck through questions that were not supposed to be brought up. Unfortunately, one of the people who was in the group who was in charge of making the changes for the script works for another elected official and kept certain questions in there that should have been struck through. That was a big problem. Okay, so like I said, and Roy's here, and I don't think Roy ever read the script before, and Joyce, you've been doing this with me 4 years with me. I've never done it. A kid called me and said, hey, he was a little uncomfortable with some of the questions. So we went ahead and changes were supposed to be made. A couple were, but most of them were not. Come to find out, that was direction from another elected official, which concerned me, and that's been graduated and no longer going to be a part of this program. I went around and talked to all the principals on the day or two after the event to talk about them providing a few more teachers out there and strategically placing them on the ends and reserving seats like that where they can sit there and monitor the kids a little bit more. They agreed. One of the things that did concern me was it kept being brought up to me that there was a commissioner that was going around to the principals bad-mouthing the event, that we need to bring it on down to 300, 400 kids again, and detail bashing the event. That definitely did concern me. The booing, you know, I have no control over that. I don't think anybody specifically has control over that. I didn't hear it. I went back and watched it afterwards and did it behind stage. I could not hear it. I did ask around and found out a couple of the reasons why the boos took place and addressed them and went to speak to groups of kids that the student governments involved. There was 2 schools in particular that came from. That's not what we want. We don't want anybody to feel like, you know, and School Board Member Freeman had an attack question type of thing that is years old and never should have been brought up. And that was one that was, again, that was directed by another elected official saying, you better keep, not on this commission, by the way, saying, you better keep that in there. And then the kid was put in a tight spot on what he should or should not do. And that was unfortunate. You know, Joyce and I have talked about some of the things we're going to do differently for next year. We've never had issues like that before. We've had the event grow. This is the 3rd year of being over 1,000 students there, and we haven't had that issue. We feel pretty confident, I think, and speaking with some of the returning kids and everything, that we'll be able to address it. One of the other things that concerned me was this year we had a few kids that have been doing this program for a long time. One student from Coral Glades that has done this program her entire high school career. And then we had 2 other students that did it for 3 years, but were heavily involved and were moderators at their junior years, and they still want to have a speaking role. However, if they moderated 2 years in a row, it's unfair to the other kids. So the kids came up with an agreement to allow 3 kids to give the speeches. And it became the Larry Vignola show, and that was embarrassing. And again, I didn't give the speeches ahead of time. Joyce, you know, when we do the rehearsal stuff, I walk out. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to feel like I'm limiting them or anything like that. However, next year, we're going to go back to once we hear the kids will have to vote on it and how they do it. They vote the moderators and stuff. And then obviously staff will go ahead and approve the speeches ahead of time to eliminate some of that stuff. But again, these are all new issues that, 4 years of doing it and not having a problem, and all of a sudden these popped up, and it's something that we've already spoken with. I've talked to a lot of the returning students already about it, and I think they will be addressed, and moving forward, we should see a lot of those issues eliminated.
The sad thing about the sunshine law is we can't talk on some of these items directly, one-on-one. So what happens is I get the complaints. I wasn't there this year. I don't know who you're talking about when we're talking to other teachers. There were concerns about the trophy, for instance, that you're naming the trophy or this event after you, and some members were offended. So that's something I think we have to talk about. And
well, I'll be honest, I personally paid for that trophy. That wasn't a city trophy, and I let the kids vote on what they wanted to name the trophy, and that's what it came up as. I think I spent about $500 on that trophy.
Again, Larry, I don't have any problems with
but that. No, I'm saying that's not a city trophy, whatever.
But this is a city-run project.
I understand.
Okay?
I also donated $1,000 of my money to the winner too.
And maybe that's why they're naming it after you, because you're so generous. Is this a city-run program? If it is, should we be having any commissioners named, or any mayors, or any person? We just have it as City of Coral Springs trophy. What's the thoughts of the commission? And again, I hate bringing this type of item up, but this is a workshop and we got to talk about it.
Right after that, I got lambasted with, and I never said a word to anybody. I spoke to the staff about it. I got lambasted with complaints. And my suggestion to one lady who came up to me, who's been around a while, was that maybe we should have one adult kind of walk through all the stuff that's going to be said. And their response was, well, it's for the kids, they're going to say what they want to say. Well, I disagree. They can say what they want to say, but we have to filter it. We have to make sure that when somebody stands up and asks a question like they want to have, it doesn't happen again. Are we going to control it 100%? No. But I think if we did that, we could cut down some of the garbage that happens at night. Because I think it's a great program, but I really don't want to see what happened at night again. That was really, really unbelievable.
Dan?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this has been extremely difficult for me in particular. Everybody knows, I think, that I consider myself to be a product of Team Political Forum. If it wasn't for TPF, I probably definitely would not be where I am today. That being said, my take on it, and it's not directed at any one person, is that this event, this last year, was out of control. It was out of control. It was borderline embarrassing, to the point of where I was the one, by the way. I was the one. I don't consider it bad nothing, but say what you will. That went to each. That's fine. That went to each of the principals. And actually, my initial meetings with the principals weren't even about this topic. It was about how I could be of more assistance to, and the commission or the city could be of more assistance. And I just wanted to meet with them one-on-one, and that's my prerogative to do so. And on some of those occasions, they were the ones that brought up the Team Political Forum. So, it did not sit well with me, and the fact that it was only a week or two after the Team Political Forum, we talked about it. And yes, I do think that and I'm not saying that we need to cap it or that we need to limit this. Look, anybody that wants to participate, I think that's a great thing. But I do take issue with when we're practically bribing kids to come, with whether it's extra credit, free food, service hours, this thing, that thing, the other thing. You start to get away from the purpose of the event. You have this great music and blasting music and great videos, entry videos of Larry walking through a hallway for 20 minutes, and all this other stuff that gets everybody excited, and then you expect them to sit there quietly when you have how many kids came to the last one?
First off, the video
wasn't
my script, wasn't anything. That was communication between Kane and Joseph.
How many kids did we have? Sorry?
1,500.
So 1,500 kids. So you've got 1,500 kids that are pumped up, ready to go, and then you're asking them to sit down, be quiet, and be polite. I don't care that I was booed. I really don't. I don't care. I don't care why. I don't care how. I don't care who it was. I don't care. The fact of the matter is, everybody was so riled up that that was viewed as an appropriate response. Now, some of the principals that I spoke to said they've never been asked to provide staff. They go just because they go, but they've never been asked to bring teachers or administrators or others to come and just maybe do some crowd control. Instead, we have student-led security, which, hey, that's fine. I get it. It's supposed to be teen-run,
It
no
wasn't
problem.
security, it wasn't like that. That's not how it was.
So I would appreciate if I could get through all this, and you're more than welcome to say what you want. But you know, I actually spent time and called around and apologized, because here's the biggest issue. Yes, this is supposed to be teen run, and we all understand that it's teen run, and we may all understand that we're not screening their questions or we're not screening the program. But the other elected officials on the stage probably don't know that. The parents in the audience definitely don't know that. The principals and administrators may not know that. And the kids in the audience may not know that. So as far as I'm concerned, when I'm sitting in the audience as Joe Schmo resident, and I'm watching this, and my kid's 2 rows up booing Dan Daly, I'm saying, oh, well, this is city sanctioned. This is okay. This is all right, and that's not okay. That's not okay. I take a huge issue with that. You touched on it earlier. This is not the individual commissioner. I won't name any names since we're not naming names today. The individual commissioner show. Okay, I remember all the flack that Roy Gold got when this was the quote-unquote Roy Gold show. Now you've got 1,500 kids that, granted, you're telling me they voted to do this and they voted to do that, and they voted, how convenient. Every single time it's about you.
One time I said they voted on it.
So,
I'm just curious.
okay, I'm just saying that each time here, I'm always told, well, that's the way that they wanted to do it. So, you know, you look at it. You have the United States Congressman, you have school board members, you have the school board superintendent, you've got other elected officials, you've got all of us there, and we're spending time going through prom proposals or hype videos or an hour-long raffle ticket session. You know, look, you have kids themselves, because I went through the tweets. You have kids in the audience saying, hey, I still didn't get to ask my question. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing the quick fire questions, where the most difficult question I got was, hey, which high school is your favorite high school? That's fine. I can handle it. That's cool. I'll get booed more next week or next year. But you're spending these people's time, and as far as they can tell, the city has sanctioned all of this. So I think we just need to look, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are making some changes, that you're updating some of the other things. That's fine. I'm not saying that we should stifle participation or excitement or anything like that. But at least as far as I'm concerned, this has gotten away from its purpose. Its purpose is to get kids involved and have them ask their questions. But you literally have students tweeting that they're not able to ask their question.
But no matter what,
So, like I said before, I'm going to continue to speak. I love the Teen Political Forum. I'm a product of the Teen Political Forum. But I think it's gotten away from its original intention. And I'm sorry if I seem fired up, but this is such an important event for our community. And I've just seen it. I don't even know how to describe this last event. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Miss,
Can I respond, please?
yeah, Commissioner Vignola.
First off, obviously, you had 4 months to sit there and build up for this. We went ahead right away, as did you the next day when you set up your meetings for principals. Day after the event was when those meetings were set up. Student security, those kids were part of the committee that had nothing else to do. So they were there to help guide teachers that showed, tell them where they were supposed to go, and to guide kids through. They weren't actual security. The kids just wanted a title, so they came up with that on their own. Joyce, am I wrong? They weren't real security type of thing. You know, as far as staff members and things being invited, I go through and I go to classes throughout the time building up Teen Political Forum and personally invite teachers. The principals, also they know that. The SGA sponsors, which the sponsor for every single school is the student government teacher, except for Taravella High School. That's the debate teacher, Mr. Price over there. They were all in attendance. There were a lot of other teachers that were there. There was at least one assistant principal from every single school. Strategically, they were not placed in proper seating, but again, those are changes that are being made. You know, I mean, as far as going through the questions, that's not something that we've ever done nor had to do and not had an issue before in the past. However, ran into a bad group. And so now we're going to go ahead, we're going to regroup, we're going to stay calm, we're not going to get overly heated about it. And Joyce and I have already spoke, some of the kids and I have already spoken how to improve an event. We can sit there and we can yell about things 4 months later, or we can sit there and look at how we're going to make it better. I don't think changing the way we do things to go back to the days of bringing 300-400 kids there, even when we had that amount, we had kids complaining that they couldn't get their answers, they could not get a chance to ask their questions. Unfortunately, if you have 200 kids there, not every kid's going to be able to ask the questions that they have. But what we did do, and I know what I did when kids asked questions through Twitter over the course of the next week, I went through and responded to every single one that I saw that was posted. A lot of us stayed after the event to answer questions, but not everyone gets a chance, and that's life. It's just like if you go on The Price is Right. If you go out there, not everyone gets a chance to go on stage. That's just the way it is. But for the kids that got to go up there and ask questions, I think that's important. And I think every year when we look at the questions overall, I'm pretty impressed with the questions that the kids asked. I was very disappointed with the questions that came from the group, the moderator group. But like I said, that was brought up. I struck through those questions. I think I have photos of my strike-throughs on those questions at home from the day before the event. The kid that went ahead and was in charge of doing the script didn't make those changes and we didn't go through it. I don't think it's fair if I were to go ahead and read through the scripts and then go up there and know every question that's going to be asked, and then you guys are going blind. I don't think that's fair to anybody.
Perhaps a staff member should do.
And that's what Joyce and I have discussed. Now, that's something that's already taken place. Erdal and I talked about the issues right away, and this is, I mean, I didn't even know this was still issues, that this was coming up until about, what, when we were outside, took a 5-minute break for Erdal to give me a heads up on it. But all these issues have been addressed. The only thing is the money I gave for the pizza party, which I think 500 or 400 something went to the pizza party, the rest went to the school, the wage pro check, and the trophy, which has boosted the attendance. And kids, like the kid that came to our commission meeting today, never would have gone if they didn't have a chance at winning a trophy and the money for the school because the principal added it up. And here was a kid who got Freshman Senator of the Year at Florida State.
Is it because he touched the Vignola trophy?
No, I think it's because he came out to the event because they wanted to win a trophy, because they wanted to win the money. And I think that's something neat. And the kid was inspired to go ahead and get involved in politics. The same way I'm sure there was a reason why you went. I think in the past you had said extra credit was the reason why you had gone to the event.
That's okay.
Well,
So, just on one clarification, Mr. Mayor, because this is actually the first opportunity that we've had as a body to sit down and discuss this. So if we keep saying that, oh, it's been 4 months, it's been 4 months, it's been 4 months, why are we just hearing about it now? You can ask Erdal. I've been stewing on this for months because I'm waiting for the opportunity to air everything out and for everyone to have a conversation. So thanks to the Sunshine Law, I couldn't come to you.
What are we voting on Team Political Forum?
Whether to change it, because frankly, if you weren't going to make changes, that was going to be my recommendation.
Okay. Or I'm sure you've talked to Erdal, and Erdal knew we were making changes.
And Joyce, we sat down, and Joyce had my concerns as well.
Before we talk anymore, Joyce, could you
Yeah.
please give us an idea as to how we're changing this? Because if it's a city-run function,
Well,
we really want the city to look.
I just have a few things, obviously, which might be repeating what Larry already said. But yes, we have talked about it, and we're definitely going to be making changes. And Larry, we haven't even talked with some of the staff members who've made suggestions, starting with the students who are on the committee, having a selection process. So not just telling anyone and everyone to be on the steering committee, the organizing committee, but maybe having them apply, getting a bio, maybe selecting them, appointing them, so that they feel some kind of an honor to be on the steering committee. That might be a good thing, and not having as many kids as we had. Last year we had about 50 kids, which made it very unwieldy, just the steering committee alone. And then they kind of lose interest because obviously there's not enough roles for all of them, leadership roles, so then they come more for the fun and the camaraderie and stuff. So I think we need to tighten up that process and just make it a little, more professional the way we have the steering committee. So starting with that, now we did a survey. We obviously which we do after every event we do in the city. We did a survey of the students, and we also did a survey of the panelists. The students, we had some very good responses. We also had some responses that were kind of frivolous. The good part is the majority of the responses were the kids came there to learn about the government process. They came for the right reasons. They came to ask questions, and they thought that they got what they wanted out of the program. There were some who said they just came for extra credit. There were some who...
Which we get every year.
Yeah. There were some who said they just came because they thought it was a party. There was one kid who said he was curious because he came to see how the political process works, whether it was a party or whether it was a program, and he got a little bit of both. So, so some of those comments are helpful in trying to, refine the process for next year. We definitely need to shorten it because one of the most common complaints was that it was too long. When we started the program, it was never more than an hour and a half. We started at 6:30, but the program on stage started at 7. Everyone was out of there by 8:30, which is, it was a school, it is a school night usually.
And we had a lot of time before that. The kids kept getting more amped and amped up because we were waiting for the congressman to show up.
Yeah.
And it delayed us going on for about 25 minutes.
At 9:30, so 3 hours, of the program was a little bit too much. Many of the panelists said that was way too long, and we agreed that, we do need to shorten the program. Definitely maybe screen the questions, because again, this was the first time we had this problem, although one of the panelists did have a problem for each of the 3 years that, on stage, and chose not to come back. So we can't have that. Obviously it's a valuable member of the panelists, and we need to make sure that that doesn't happen, and we're aware of that. So we'll definitely screen the questions, at least the ones the moderator asks, obviously, not the ones that the general audience asks. Again, offer an opportunity to have more questions from the general, from the kids, the student body, and less of the other not related activities like the videos and so on, maybe shorten all that, so that we really get to the meat of the, the real reason why the kids are there. Getting to the adult advisor part of it that you brought up, I think this year, last program, we were a little negligent about having the adult advisors actually attend meetings, but in the past, they've always attended the meetings, always. We've had one from each school, we had Gail Boschek, we had, I know most of them that used to come and kind of control the students, or at least the students would report to them or be a little more responsible. This year, for some reason, maybe it's because we had such a big steering committee that we kind of lost sight of that.
The first year that I did this, there was only a couple that showed up, the teachers.
But we would communicate with them. I would be in touch with them, but make sure they knew about the meetings, and they would make sure the kids came, whatever. They can kind of control their whereabouts and the whole from beginning to end. So I think we definitely need to get back to that. Have someone appointed from each school that's in charge of the kids, and go back to that process. Let's see, what else? I think that's pretty much it. Too long.
But if we're going to do with the teacher show, we got to make it earlier.
Hold on. Commissioner Smagwood first, then Commissioner Carter, and Commissioner Vignola.
Yeah, some of the stuff that happened was kind of cute, when kids were asking for dates for prom. That's not the place.
No. That's what I meant by the unrelated activities. We will definitely cut that
Yeah,
out.
and when I was walking to my car, 2 young girls were driving out, teenagers. Good night, Commissioner Smagwood. I said, good night. They said, would you go to the prom with me? And I didn't know what school I went to, so I couldn't go to the prom. But anyway, it's cute, but up on that stage, we can't have that kind of stuff. That's my opinion. So.
But those were surprise events even to us.
I'm sure.
Even to staff, so.
But the kids have to be instructed. These are the don'ts, and you cannot do it. And I think once you do that, you're going to cut that way down.
Yeah.
By letting them know that.
Oh, yeah. No, we'll structure it. Yeah, we'll have it, maybe try not to, go beyond an hour and a half, which we used to do before.
Yeah.
And, I think that might take care of most of the problems.
Commissioner Carter?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Commissioner Daly that since Roy started the program, I think it sort of lost its direction and definitely needs to be refined or controlled. And I certainly think it's honorable that you took your own money and bought the plaque, but if you're representing the entire commission, then your name should go on the back or the bottom or something and not on the front.
That doesn't make a difference to me either way, what you guys want to do. I'm just saying, that's
It's there,
what
it
happened.
stay there. But
We bought the trophy the first year, there was no name on it.
Yeah.
And then the next year, the kids wanted to name it. I said, name it whatever you want to do it, and they placed the order on the trophy. It wasn't even me. I said, this is what I'm willing to spend. A couple of kids went ahead, and they ordered the trophy. I was actually out of town. I was in Washington, D.C. when they ordered it. The kid picked it up and delivered it to City Hall. Dan saw it before I ever did.
I realize that I signed up for this job as a commissioner, and I really do enjoy it, but time is valuable, and time here costs me money, and I'm putting in between 25 and 45 hours a month for this job, and I do not find value in attending that experience, for me personally.
Let me just put some of my own thoughts in for a second. It sounds like the kids are taking control over the event. The event, as I understand it, is to try to educate them as to what a political process is all about. I've only attended one of these, and the question that was asked to me was, what kind of underwear do I wear?
Which is not a new type of question.
Which is the type of questions that beforehand we probably should say to the kids, don't ask stupid questions. There has to be an adult who's in charge of making sure that the questions are appropriate at the event, almost like a judge. I object, sustain,
Or a buzzer.
or a buzzer,
Yeah.
so that you're not putting people in the position of, having to answer stupid questions. One thing, Larry, that I heard is that you had, one of the kids was going to mention Mayor Gold in thanking him, and word has it that you told them not to mention anybody other than yourself.
No, Erdal, do you want to explain that story? That was years ago. I got a call from
This was
Erdal about
supposedly last year,
No,
from last year's event.
no, not even brought up to me this year at all. It was brought up. We did the run through. The first year, I had walked out because I don't go through the kids' speeches. I don't go through any of that process, whatever. And then I got a phone call from Joyce and then Erdal, and you can explain what happened there. But that was years ago, and I did what they wanted to do.
Well, maybe it's history I'm hearing about, but that was one of the comments that I don't think as a city who's putting on this event, we should be talking about those types of things. But I do think that we need to take control, and you're the liaison to the thing, and, you should be up there saying, no, that's not an appropriate question.
You want to answer that?
I don't really have anything else to add. I mean, I don't remember, to be honest with you, what the incident you're talking about, but this has become a very, very popular, event. Also successful, popular, and we do want to, continue. But I think we need to put more arms around the event and the process. The kids, we're calling them kids because until they're adults, they're kids. But they are adults to a degree, and they're passionate and excited, and they want to do things on their own, and that shouldn't be curtailed. But at the same time, there has to be some kind of a process, just not on the day, but throughout the preparation that this is going to be a public event. We want you to be creative, but remember, it has to be presentable. It's a city event, whether a dime is coming out of the city or or spending thousands of dollars. Right now, that's what we're doing, and it's worth it. But it just needs to be more control and more participation from other adults, whether it's teachers or principals or more city staff. But it has to have that. So when it's the day of it or the evening of it, end of the day, we can't control everything, but we should be able to have some control over that. The other thing is this is going back for many years, when we say ask any question, any question you want to ask, it really needs to be questions relating to the government, politics, or maybe education, so it's not just virtually anything. Because a lot of questions are coming, from the web or just Instagram, instantaneous, and so not everybody necessarily knows in advance. So that's
Oh, do you mind if I ask former Gold question? Just about the rapid fire question as to why they were brought up.
We don't normally let people do it, but today I'm going to make an exception because he is a former mayor.
And Roy, the rapid fire question, and from what I was told, were done to show that the kids, that the elected officials were just regular people. And so silly questions have always come up on it, correct? Like, I've asked, the underwear questions have been asked me, what deodorant I wear, I remember years ago being in the audience and hearing, before I was elected, someone asked County Commissioner Stacey Ritter how old she was when she got her first kiss. She went on to some other details. For those of you out there, it's a good video. Very wrong. But I think that's where that had come from, was to show the kids that they're regular people, regular things. And
I want to go through the mayor. I want to address this question specifically, but I'd like to add a little bit, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
The quick fire questions were invented for a way for people to see that we're all the same. We're all people. There's 9 members of the government up there, and we all have different backgrounds and different strengths and different weaknesses. That answers your question. You have stated here today a couple times that you don't screen questions, you don't screen things, you don't tell people what to do. And in the last year when I was the leader of this, and you took over because I was taken out of office because of term limits, you told Paula Paneras, the speaker, about the event. And I was there because I was asked by Joyce and others to be there for continuity of the event. And she said, boy, I would love to hear this speech. And she told me what it said. And then I heard her make the presentation. And then I left just like we all do when we are there for the pre-event. I then come to the event that night, which has continued for 4 years, and never heard my name mentioned, even as being sitting in the audience as a former mayor. That, I believe, is your responsibility to at least acknowledge somebody that served the city well, and you've never done it in 4 years. But what you did with that student, and you're an adult supervisor, you told that student, do not mention Roy Gold's name. This is not a Roy Gold event. This is a City of Coral Springs event. And when you did that, I took that to heart, what you said. I didn't appreciate it. But then, a couple years later, I'm now reading, I'm looking at the trophy. It says the Vignola Trophy. And you told me, Roy, the reason we're not mentioning your name is this is now a City of Coral Springs event. And yet you then, within a matter of years, couple of years, because I did it for 7.5 years, you've done it for 4, you then got your name on the trophy. However you did it, I don't know. However you accepted it, I don't know. You're not the first one to give money to this group either. When the city had no money, and Joyce told me we couldn't afford T-shirts for the students. I'm sorry, Larry.
I'm not going to balance out back and forth.
Yeah, well, I don't want you to. I just want to, if I may finish. You did this to the commissioner, the vice mayor, now you're doing it to the former mayor. So please give a little respect. You're not the first one to give money to this group. And when the city needed money to give them T-shirts, she says, we don't have money for the T-shirts. They go, how much are they? They're $500. I don't think anybody in this room knows this. But I said,
so we know that I did the same thing this year too.
Right. But well, your name on the cup is an embarrassment after you tell me that this is a Coral Springs event, and then you put your name on the cup.
First, let me just go back to...
I'm sorry, Mayor, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
I got a phone call.
Larry, let me take the meeting back.
Can I respond to that?
I am going to let you respond, but let me take the meeting back so we have a little order here. I don't want this to get out of hand. Unfortunately, we have, I got a lot of people here that probably could give a crap about what this is all about.
I agree.
But it is an issue, okay? Apparently, I didn't even understand how big of a boil it was, and I'm here to make sure that this boil is somehow sliced open and everything comes out, we start over again. It's a good program, okay? So we got to get control of it. All right, now you're right.
Okay. So first off, what I'm talking about is the not mentioning you. I didn't know Paula had mentioned you. I didn't know anything. I did get a call from 2 different staff members that you were at the Center for the Arts before I showed up that day for the rehearsal, and was told that they were uncomfortable with you being there and that you were not invited. Okay? I did not kick you out like I was told. Okay? Then, which I was told to do. Then I got a phone call from 2 different staff members saying that I need to tell the kid to not mention you during the speech because we don't mention the people that create an event at every event that we do throughout the city. And I disagree with that stance. This went on for a couple hours, and as you know, the day of the event, how busy you get. I was threatened by a couple of members of the commission that they were not going to go on stage if this happened. What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to do? Ruin the whole event over mentioning somebody by name? I mean, I was in a spot. This past year, I didn't even know you were at the event. In fact, the year before, I didn't even know you were at the event.
Guess what? I'm going to be there at every event.
Well, and that's right. I was told after the fact, because Commissioner or Vice Mayor Daley had said, oh no, I'm sorry, Congressman Joyce had said that he had gotten a text from you that he had done well or something like that after the event. I had no idea you were there. Remember, I'm running around trying to figure everything out, whatever, but I promise you that was not my thing, and if you go back and you ask Paula, okay, I was not very happy about that call I had to make, and I was apologetic up and down to her, and I felt horrible, okay? But that was not my call. And I got a call from 2 people in this room saying that you have to this, that, whatever. And then I was told other commission members weren't going to go on stage if you were brought up, because this somehow got spread around to all the other commissioners when they never should have known about it in the first place, okay? Not my call, but at that point, what was I going to do? Am I going to have 2 commission members sitting up on there for a city event and nobody else? You know, I mean, it is what it is. And Paula knows how bad I felt about that, and she knows, okay? As far as, you know, the kids control thing, yeah, we've given kids more control. We have. And we're going to rein that back, and we discussed that. However, giving the kids more control the past few years has resulted in more and more kids in attendance. It also resulted in, you know, an event that won a national award, and this year went a little out of control. But like I said, we're going to rein it back in. We're going to make some changes. Joyce had discussed about lowering the amount of kids allowed at the event and seeking out different types of kids. You know, the year before we allowed it open to everybody, we had some kids that promoted the heck out of it and worked their butts off and made it a really big event, but it is what it is. The light show, the video, all those different things, none of it was my idea. None of it was the kids' idea. That was a communications and marketing thing, guys. It was brought to my attention, hey, we're going to shoot this video, whatever. I didn't write the script. I didn't anything like that. I thought it was kind of a cool video at the end, honestly. But nobody even got to hear it, so we had already decided we were going to cut that type of thing anyway, because it was so loud, nobody heard it. I'm sorry everyone's offended by the event. Every other year has been extremely successful. It was one-off year. We're working on things to make it better, if I'm even here at that time. But I think, you know, people got to understand that it's a very huge undertaking. There's a lot of different kids there, and for me personally to control all the different kids is very, very hard. And especially when I'm going to be one of the people on stage. Obviously, Joyce is going to start reading through the questions and going that whole route. Did you get the questions this year? Yeah. I saw them literally at about 11 o'clock.
Well, that's because you know, I mean, the whole thing was we never ever saw the questions in advance, but obviously that's not.
That's not going to happen anymore. And I was told by the kid that actually did the script writing that he was told by another elected official, you better keep this question in, that question, and whatever. And it was wrong. And that elected official got a nice call from me. I'm friends with that person, and we're not as friendly anymore.
What do I do?
I'm not going to say, because it doesn't make a difference. I've handled it. Instead of doing something like this publicly and whatever, I'd rather just handle things one-on-one. And it's been handled, and that's it. But we're not going to take for moderators anymore. We'll screen them a little bit better, and it won't just be the kids voting like we did this year. But you know, I understand there's a lot of changes that need to be made. I wish a phone call could have been made, whatever. I know everyone had called Erdal. Erdal spoke to me. I spoke with Joyce. We've discussed things, whatever. And here we are 4 months later, going back to the point that we've already tried to address. And I promise you it'll be done better next year. But I don't want everyone to think that this is a bad event, because we had one bad year. I walked out of there. I was not happy. During the event, I was not happy. Right from the beginning, I could tell the way it was going. It was not like the year before or the year before that, which were 2 extremely, extremely successful years, where we had over 1,000 kids. The year before, we had 1,800 kids or whatever signed in, and we had it under control. It was just one bad year. And two things that had happened that had kind of got the crowd going. One was a Twitter poll being done, that one school was left out, and that's why someone was booed. Okay. And that's, you know, and it's not his fault. I mean, you can only do so many schools on it, whatever. You know, that was one of the reasons. Once that happened, it kind of spiraled. Was not happy, spoke to the principal, identified the kids that had done it, because kids write each other out, the kids in the student government associations, whatever, and those kids were dealt with. And they received punishment for it. Which, you know, if they want to go and they want to boo and make a scene out of things and make a circus out of it, they don't need to go. You know, and like I said, I understand kids are going to complain at now the questions that asked, but if we can't have more than probably 25 questions asked from the audience, maybe 50 tops. So there are always going to be kids out of there that don't get their questions asked, but I know Roy had always said, you know, the Twitter questions and things afterwards, we try to get back. And I've tried to do the same thing. We try to get, I was responding to kids a week later, answering questions or direct them to the proper elected official. And I think majority of the kids that went in there got something out of it. And as far as the superintendent of schools is concerned, afterwards he called me. He had a different view of the event than I did. He wants to start doing these throughout the county. He told me he enjoyed the event. I was apologized. He said, no, he said, we're going to start doing these throughout the county, and this and that. He's had the community meetings with the adults, and he wants to start doing more with the kids, and doing this type of format. And the city of Miramar is trying to copy now, and there's one being copied now. I'm talking to elected officials throughout the country. So, one bad year, it'll be worked on, it'll be better next year.
Well, one of my comments is, this is a city event. These kids can't be controlling what we're doing or voting on stuff, and, you know, that's inappropriate. It has to be, we have to control them. And, you know, I think we have to get back to making it what it is, a political forum. Commissioner Smagler and then Vice Mayor Erdal.
Well, no, what we were talking about, first of all, for a minute there, I thought it sounded like a presidential debate. And I was going to say, let's not go any further. But no, you know, part of what the kids learned that evening is how to handle things, how to be a good person, a good lady, a good gentleman, how to be a good politician, of course. I don't know how far that goes once you leave the city, but, you know, we just have to let it, you know, I think we're at the point now where we're beating a dead horse. So, just to go on, and it's not going to serve anything, we'll just keep on a later. So I recommend that we just move on.
Okay, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Erdal.
Just very briefly, I wanted to, I've had the opportunity to cool down a little bit since my initial comments. I want to make sure, you know, Commissioner Vignola, no one discounts the fact that you've put in a ton of work on this program. And we all appreciate that. And I agree with you. I think the year prior was excellent. The year prior to that was excellent. The year prior to that was excellent, all the way down the line. So please don't take it personally. My frustration is because it's such a tremendous program, and I just want to make sure that it stays that way. And I appreciate your comments that it's a huge undertaking, and there's a million different moving parts. That's why, listen, Joyce is a sweetheart. I love her to death, but she's also got a firm side. Okay, sometimes I'm scared of her. Okay? She puts together, as an example, the entire. She puts together. She puts together the entire, or oversees the entire Martin Luther King weekend, and that's a series of events. And I can tell you, because I've seen it, that there is a script, and that it is reviewed, and that it is everything else. So, Joyce, my thing is, I hope that, you know, after all of these changes have been made, Joyce will have a stronger sense of input over the program. That's all. That'll also relieve you of some of the flying, moving parts, and everybody can continue to move forward and be happy and great and have an awesome program.
The way we've done this, and this year went a little off, obviously, is we've given the kids more control. And the reason why we did that is between the control, you know, giving them more control, the trophy, the money, we're getting more kids there. More kids, more involved. We want them to go out and become voters. One day run the city of Coral Springs when I'm old and gray, right? And those are the types of things we're looking to do. Well, we know, and Rick will tell you, whenever we do things with teams for all the different programs, whatever, the more we take control over it, the less kids are going to show up. So it's finding that balance, right? Because if the kids say, this is a program that I've worked on, I've done this, their friends are more likely to show up. If it's a city-run event or whatever, like Rick, the middle school dance they did years ago, right? How many people showed up to that thing? 5. Yeah. And that's kind of the balance that we're trying to find. And obviously, it went a little too far this year. And then off the beginning and the delay, we waited for our congressman. And when the kids are sitting there, and then it became a pep rally type atmosphere, that didn't help. When the moderator questions, there's going to be questions from the audience that are going to piss people off. And that's just life. I mean, there's a young lady that's gone, I think, 3 years in a row and talked about the dress code for the school board, how it's only directed at females. That you know, guys can't control themselves, and they see a shoulder, oh my God. But, you know, guys wear things all the time that show things, and know, you know, they can control themselves. Things like that, I think, are pretty neat. But there are going to be some bad questions from the audience. As far as the moderators, there should be no inappropriate questions coming from the moderators. That's scripted. That should be done. I tried handling it because I had concerns, and I was telling Joyce, I don't know, Joyce, this group's a little different. And sure enough, one of the kids called me up late at night and said, listen, Larry, I need you to see the script. I have some concerns. everything was supposed to be taken care of before that point. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And I didn't know, nobody knew, whatever. The proposal thing, yes, that was completely my fault, and inappropriate thing to do. I had 2 kids that had met through the event, and I told them that they could do it quick. Then another kid, and then it was like, all right, well, and obviously it was already told to the kids they were never doing those again. But ultimately, I think the kids had fun. I think, talking to kids, they enjoyed it. Yeah, there's going to be some kids that are upset, but if you look at the surveys, the kids did enjoy it. More kids came out, whatever. We'll just control it a little bit. But I don't want people to think like anything was written or scripted or whatever by me. I assure you it wasn't. The questions and things, I mean, Abby Freeman got the same question again, and it was wrong. It was wrong. There was no need for it. It didn't affect us. It didn't affect our area. It's something in the past. I apologize to her. She wanted the kid's name that wrote the script. I didn't want to give it to her because I don't think that's fair to throw a kid who's in high school under the bus. And that's why I don't want to tell you who the elected official was that this person was working with. That I'm not going to throw a high school kid under the bus. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. But I promise you next year it'll be taken care of in a much different way. And when we vote the kids for moderators, obviously there's going to be some adult percentage of that vote to choose who those kids are going to be. But
And like Vice Mayor said, I'll be bad cop, you can be good cop, so I'm sure you will have a tight control over it.
But I didn't have the city print out a big check with my name on it to hand to the schools or anything like that. Or, I mean, it is what it is. There was no extra staff time put in there to try to promote me type of thing. That's not the goal of this. It's not the goal of this.
Hopefully the trophy will have a new name on it next year.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll give the trophy to Sean Sarah to keep. It is what it is. I don't care. I have a feeling who came up with that idea of setting the trophy name.
It actually wasn't me, but since we're not saying.
I didn't say it was you. I know it wasn't you.
Anyway, I think that Commissioner Sinaglia